You're listening to The Donor Doctor Show, where your host, James Newberry, will help you improve the health of your fundraising. Now over to James.
Hey, welcome back to The Donor Doctor Show. As promised, we have the second half of Roy Furr's interview, and you're really going to want to listen to this, but I recommend that you listen to last week's first. Talk to you later.
Now, let's zoom out. Let's stop talking about the commercial world for a minute, and let's talk about fundraising. So let's say that I'm interested in your organization, in your mission, and you have just asked me for a $7 donation. And I said, all right, I'm on board. What is natural for me to do at that point? That is the point where I am the most interested, the most convicted. I have the most conviction in my support for your organization that I have ever had in my life. Now, if you were to ask me, would you like to provide more support? So initially, you only gave me the option, donate $7 today in support of this cause. Your next question could be, would you like to give us even greater support, and put out a specific need, a specific ask around what, let's say, a $100 donation or a $99 donation could do for the organization. So it is an ascending ask. It is. So you're asking for that next donation, not a week later, not a month later, but a minute later or a second later. Yeah. As soon as they hit the thank you page, there is, if you are looking to provide more support to this mission, here's what we could use from you. And then for everybody that donates $100, you're going to have somebody who's interested in donating $1,000 at that point. And there's probably a $10,000 donor in there once you start to deal with significant volume. It's the 80-20 principle, the 80-20 rule. And it doesn't have to be 80% and 20%. Don't get caught up on that. But within every population of donors, there is a smaller segment, the trivial few, the vital few and the trivial many. There is the vital few that are your big donors. And then within that segment, there's an even smaller segment that's your really big donors. And if you systematize that series of asks, that series of ascending asks, you are going to be able to that whole comment about it taking 2 years to get back the expense of bringing a new donor into the file, you're going to be able to shrink that time to 2 months or 2 hours or 2 minutes, and it completely changes the game. Funnels are incredible for commercial direct marketers, but because of the nature of what a donation is, and the fact that you don't have to deliver, I'm sorry to be just, very straightforward about this, but you don't have to deliver 10 times the value to ask for 10 times as much money. You don't have to deliver 1,000 times the value to ask for 1,000 times as much money. When they're supporting the mission, they're supporting the mission, they're supporting the mission. Now you can tell them specifically the difference between what you can do with $10,000 versus $10. But you don't have to do
a product, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to create a $10,000 product or service. So it is incredibly easy for someone to build what I call a fundraising funnel. And as soon as I had this idea, I bought fundraisingfunnel.com. And there's really not much there right now. But if somebody wants to reach out to me, if they have a really innovative entrepreneurial mindset that they're applying to fundraising, that's the best place to find me on this message.
Right.
But if you build a fundraising funnel based on the 80-20 principle and the ascending ask, that is how you're going to be able to acquire customers online quickly and do better than break even in a very short period of time.
Now, it's interesting in direct mail, although there's debate, what I was taught was a descending ask. And Herschel Gordon Lewis said that too. So, there's a debate. I can see what you're saying, though. Well, you can get in for a relatively small amount. You don't turn off those people, and then you can upgrade a certain amount. So it's a different way of going.
the most sophisticated direct marketers, I'm not even getting it, not even really getting into this here, but the most sophisticated direct marketers have all sorts of upsells and downsells based on, where you try and leave the funnel and all of that. And sometimes it can feel very overwhelming if you're on the customer side of that. I'm not saying you should build something that feels very overwhelming. You should simply give your best donors an opportunity to go deeper with you. But if somebody says no to it, if I just donated $7 or $10, let's say I donated $10, and you ask me for $100, and I say no to that, I might say yes to $10 a month, which would be $120 over the next 12 months. Or there a downsell or a descending ask at that point may actually be relevant. By the way, as a side note, I love Herschel Gordon Lewis. I've met him a couple times, and interesting character, to say the least. Yeah.
The king of horror, too. I was this advertising guy. Well, that gets to your next one, the monthly and recurring giving, and I, of course, have had a podcast on it. I totally agree with you on that. That's easy money. There's all sorts of benefits to getting somebody a monthly donor. You have a more loyal donor.
So I worked for this IT training publisher out in Oregon, and the first big breakthrough that company had is they went from selling one-off training videos to certification packages, where it was a collection of different training videos that would help you get to the certification and not just pass one of the exams within the certification track. And then the next big breakthrough that they had, and I actually helped them implement the second breakthrough, was they offered access to their entire catalog of training on a subscription basis. And the first breakthrough doubled their customer lifetime value, and then the second breakthrough doubled it again. And based on that, before they rolled out that subscription, they were doing about $3 million a year. And now my understanding is they're about a $75 million company, and 100% of their sales are through subscriptions. And when you look at a company who takes subscriptions seriously, usually you see growth curves like that, because it does not cost any, it costs very minimal additional marketing expense to get someone to renew their second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 100th month of a subscription, as long as they continue to feel like they're getting value. In this case, a good donor communication program is exactly what's going to get them feeling like they're getting value. Just getting updates on the mission and how their donations continue to support your good work is what you need to do. But the cost of selling someone beyond that first month goes to almost zero, especially when you're talking about your donor communications going out online, sending them a YouTube video, sending them a podcast about your mission where you interview people whose lives are being impacted, or your email newsletter, or whatever it is. They feel good about continuing to donate on a monthly basis, on a recurring basis. And so with regards to that fundraising funnel, the second or third ask should probably be a recurring giving program. I like it as a third ask or downsell, just because you want to give somebody who says, okay, so let me give a scenario here. I say yes to that first donation of $10, and so you ask me for a second donation of $100 to provide even more support. If I say no to that, it might be a perfect descending ask to say, well, would you be willing to do $10 a month? If I say yes to that, it would be a perfect ascending ask to say, would you be willing to do $100 a month, or here are some other options? So looking at the different thresholds of what they've donated in that first session with you in the funnel, followed by an appropriate recurring donation amount from there, to be able to do that based on what they have donated up until that point. That's something you can't do in direct mail. You can have this incredibly tailored experience to what they're responding to online by building it out into an automated funnel, is the term that's used with commercial marketing. And so that's how you make the most of your monthly or recurring giving program. And then you can continue to make recurring giving a primary ask in the communications that are going out to your organization. So every email to past donors should certainly talk about the impact that the recurring donations make and how it supports the ongoing investment in the mission. Because I heard this is great advice for a commercial company recently, that if you were making one-off sales as an entrepreneurial commercial company, it's very hard to hire people, especially because one-off sales tend to fluctuate quite a bit. So you should always hire people based on recurring revenue. You should always pay salaries based on recurring revenue. And that same kind of investment strategy applies to what you're able to do with your mission. You're able to really make ongoing commitments to the mission that your organization serves by having those recurring resources coming in every month on a monthly basis. And if you emphasize that to your donors and the value in being able to rely on their support, that is what is going to make them feel best about either starting to give you money on a recurring basis or continuing to give you money on a recurring basis.
Very good.
So recommendation 7, and I know we're almost to an hour here, so and I know that I already asked for longer than your normal episodes are, but I hope people are getting a ton of value out of this. Let's try and get through these last 3 recommendations here. So recommendation 7 is follow the 2-pronged email approach to maximize engagement and financial support. So I want you to imagine for a minute that you have a file of people who are either interested parties where they signed up for an email just to get updates about your mission, or they're donors, and both of them have given you permission to email about your mission on a very regular basis, at a minimum monthly. And this is coming from someone who emails on a daily basis, and yes, I do get people unsubscribing because they get too much email, but they're not the kind of people who would send me money anyway. The people who read my email every day within an hour of when it comes in are most likely to then become a customer when I make offers to them. And the people who read your organization's emails whenever you send them, even if it's weekly or more often, those are the people who are going to be the most likely to be big donors to you. And they're going to appreciate that you're continuing to give them information about the impact that their donations are having in the world. So the 2-pronged email strategy, number 1 is mission updates. And the primary goal of those emails needs to be to share with your donor base and your supporter base what positive impact you're having in the world. And this is primarily content. This is what I see a lot of nonprofits doing really well right now with their online donor communications. It is, here's what we're doing thanks to your support. The second prong of the 2-pronged email strategy ties all the way back to recommendations 2 and 3, where we talked about putting the successful direct mail appeal letters as web pages and the video appeal letters as web pages. And you can think about this, if you're a direct mail person, you can think about this like the Lift Note. The Lift Note, its primary, I can't pronounce the word right. Its primary purpose is to get someone to engage with the bigger selling message that you have included, or the bigger ask that you have included. And so you send out a short email that links people to that sales letter, that appeal letter or video appeal letter that you have put on a page on their site. They click through to learn the story of what's going on, to learn about the specific situation where you need the support, to learn about the impact that you're trying to make. And they click through, and the primary purpose of that email is to drive interest, to drive eyeballs, to drive traffic to your appeal that's based on your website. And marketers that have tested putting the same selling message on a separate page on a website versus putting it in an email, the response and ROI of the page on a website that people have to click to get to is higher. And so that's what they tend to do. Plus, it allows you can't send video through email yet on a reliable basis. It allows you to do those kind of things well. And so the two-prong email strategy, again, is number one is content, and number two is ask emails, where your purpose is to drive people to an appeal. Ready for recommendation?
What ratio do you think? I mean, of content versus ask emails. What would your advice be for a nonprofit on that?
I would probably do at least two. We are going to talk about the launch model as recommendation 9, but so there are times where you're going to have a higher ratio of ask to content, but I would probably do 2 contents to every ask. At a minimum, you're going to want 1-to-1, or I guess at a maximum, you don't want. The idea is you want to have a relationship with your donors such that every time that they see your organization's name or your name as the voice of the organization show up in their inbox, that they want to open that email. And if they feel like all you're doing is asking for money, they're going to fall off. Just like if somebody feels like a slimy salesperson and all that they do is they try and manipulate you into spending money with them today, your interest is going to fall off in them. But me, for example, I put out essays that are over 1,000 words every weekday, and I have a very large number of people who open those pretty much the instant that they arrive in their inbox, and certainly within the first hour.
You give a lot of value. I mean,
I do.
No question,
I do.
Yeah.
And my value in my market is talking about marketing strategies and talking about career strategies for marketers and talking about business building strategies. That's my value in that market, and that's why people engage with that right away. Now, in there, I do also include links to specific selling messages, and I do get some response to that. But I establish a relationship where when people see Roy Furr show up in their inbox, they want to open that email. And that's what you need to be thinking about more than the ratio, because if you have a really passionate donor base, you may be able to send out one ask for every piece of content. Also, it might depend on how frequently you send out emails. So if every other week you send a piece of, well, let's say you have a monthly email newsletter, which is your content strategy. Well, what I might do is on the off biweekly rotation. That sounds really weird, but basically every 2 weeks they're getting an email from me, and one is content, and then the next one is an ask. One is content, the next one is an ask. I might do it that way. You really have to figure out what works for you. You will be surprised how many asks your biggest supporters are willing to read and how engaged they will be with them. I'll tell you, I actually get way more engagement and way more clicks with an ask because I deliver so much value on a regular basis. But it really is going to vary, and it's also going to be based on how well you pull off the ask too. Do they feel like they are just being asked for money, or do they feel like they're being given an opportunity to support an awesome cause and an awesome part of the mission? And if I feel like I'm consistently being introduced to the great work that you're doing and being asked for help in supporting that, I'm supporting you. I'm reading your emails for a reason, because I support your mission, and so I understand that you need money to continue that mission, and I'm going to be interested in engaging with those messages. As long as here's the thing. Here's the thing. If that ask email is just a big donate button that says donate $5 now and doesn't give me a reason why, or donate $50 now, doesn't give me a reason why, doesn't tell a compelling story, doesn't talk about the impact that donation is going to make, I'm going to get really tired of those really quick. Just like a commercial marketer that just sends me a bunch of product listings or product pictures, I'm gonna quit engaging with those emails. But if that tells a story like good fundraising should, and it talks about an important part of the mission that's going on, and it talks about the resources that are necessary for that part of the mission to succeed, and then it makes a heartfelt ask, I'm going to engage with that almost like it's content. and so, yeah. So it's very hard for me, going back to your initial question, it's very hard for me to say, oh, you should send 2 contents for every ask, or you should
but you gave an idea. At least, I mean, there's some people that never do content, or they do 90% ask. So I'm just, and I know of other people that go 12-to-1 content to ask. So, I think that was valuable.
I'll tell you on a minimum basis, I would probably make sure, if I were running even a small organization, and email is practically free. It's not totally free, I know that, but it's practically free. So if I'm running a small organization, I'm going to, at a very minimum, do 1 content update every month about what's going on in the mission, and that's going to include very soft asks. It's going to include, and here's where you go to learn more about how you can support the organization. And then at least once a month, spaced out a little bit, I'm going to have something much more direct that, I just wanted to let you know about this very important project that we're working on right now, and here's where you can learn about it and provide your support.
I like that.
And on a minimum basis, that's what I'm going to do. If I'm emailing a lot more frequently, one parallel that I'll give before we move on to the next recommendation. The financial publishing world that I work with a lot, what they will often do is they will have a daily content newsletter, and then 2 to 4 times a week, they will also have a lift note, basically, that goes out by email, directing people to a selling message. So we're talking about as many as 9, 10, 11 messages that people are getting a week, more than 1 a day. And yes, they do get some unsubscribes, but far less than you would think, because they focus on making their content great and interesting and valuable to the readers, and they fill their marketing messages with valuable content such that even if you don't end up buying, you feel like just by consuming their marketing message, you got some value out of it. So if it's talking about a trend in investing, you learn a little bit about that trend in investing, even if you don't buy the newsletter. So in a sense, all of it feels like content, and all of it has an element of ask to it.
Yeah, but it's blurry. I see what you're saying. Now, your next one, treat your donor page as is most important. It'd be the reply form in a direct mail pack. I thought that's my favorite of them, because I don't think most people do that.
Oh man, I will tell you, I've gone to all sorts of nonprofit websites, and it includes nonprofits that have great direct mail programs, that their order form or their donation form in the direct mail package is this great, it's a great example of an offer. Like, we need this amount from you to do this part of our mission, and perhaps here is your gift that you're going to get as part of this, as our thank you for supporting us on this mission. And it's a very clear offer / ask, where the copy is great, where I feel like there's a great reason why, where I feel like, I see what I'm getting out of it, I see what the organization is getting out of it, I see what the population or mission that they're serving is getting out of it. I see all of this stuff working in perfect harmony to support me donating. But then I go to their website, and there's always a donate button in the upper right-hand corner, and it's a different color so it stands out, and you click it, and it's like a series of dollar amounts with radio buttons where you just select one and you enter your payment information. And there's no compelling copy on there. There's nothing interesting that tells you what your support is going to do. There's no offer on it that gives you a reason why they're making the specific ask. There's no explanation of how your donation is going to have an impact, and it's so silly. So the way that the commercial direct response marketers do it is every sales page that they put up has its own order form that actually talks about the specific offer. And if you land on most of their websites today, it's actually kind of hard to find, unless you start clicking on banner ads and things like that are on their content websites. It's actually kind of hard to find the long-form selling messages that they use, because they have a bunch of content about what they're doing. Let's say a financial publisher, they have a bunch of content about what's going on in the markets. But when you sign up for ongoing content, then you're getting a sales page, and then the next logical step and really only option for taking action from that sales page is going to an order form, and the order form reinforces the purchase decision that you just made. It lays out what the offer is, what you're getting by whatever investment you're making in their product today, and it has just a form that you fill out, and it's just like the donate forms that you get in direct mail. It's just like the order forms that they send out in direct mail and send out in direct mail. It is the spot where not the buying decision is made, because the buying decision is made in the initial sales message, but it is the spot, the all-important spot, because somebody can make a decision. They can say, I love this organization. I want to donate to this organization. I believe in this organization. I believe in the cause. And then something can happen. Life can happen. Their kid can start crying. They can get a phone call. They can get whatever. And they don't take the action. They don't make the donation. And the organization, the mission goes without that critical support. So even if somebody has decided they want to donate, it does not mean that they have donated. And so you have to cross that critical threshold. And so you need to treat that donate page as the most critical piece of appeal copy on your website. That needs to be, if your donate page does not have a clear offer and a clear statement of the reason why they need to donate and the impact that their donation is going to make, you need to update that right away. And then your appeal letter that you put online can link to that, or it can link to an exclusive donate page if the offer is a little bit different.
Is a reply form in direct mail as important as the online page, what you're talking about in direct on the internet?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, same principle.
Yeah. So if you have a successful appeal letter that you're sending out via direct mail, it probably has a successful donate form that you send inside the envelope, and that should all be in sync, and it should all include great copy.
Most, I think, people do have fairly good reply forms. I think on the internet is where so you can take that reply form. The only context, if you run a multi-mission organization, a mission that's always embarking on new projects and doing lots of different things, then you may need an evergreen kind of general donate page about how a donation impacts the mission. But then each specific campaign that you put out, each specific appeal that you put out, is going to have its own dedicated page that's going to be linked to the ask that you're putting out. A landing page is what they're called.
Yeah. So that language and so much language around this gets mixed up from company to company to company.
Sure.
The landing page would typically be the equivalent of like the appeal letter, and then there would be the order form, which is the next page. But every company I've worked with seems to have a different set of language. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to your last one. This is an exciting one too, the launch model.
Yes. So use the launch model to create huge influxes of donor support. So tell me right now, and we're coming up into the right time of year, what the most important day or time is for time of the year, season for fundraising. Can you tell
Christmas.
me, James?
Christmas.
Well, it's Christmas / year end. I mean, there's
year end. You're right.
There's all the tax benefits if somebody thinks about that, which is one reason that you might reach out to them. But the thing that happens there, and one of the big reasons why it's such a huge fundraising event, is because you establish deadlines around the year end fundraising. And so if I know that in order for my donation to count against my 2017 taxes has to be in by December 31st. Well, I'm super likely to donate on on or before December 31st. And what happens is I'm going to permit a lot more messaging around that deadline as a friendly reminder that if I don't donate by December 31st, it can't count towards my 2017 taxes. And that's just one specific narrative or one specific point that you might use as an urgency factor to get someone to respond. But the thing is, anytime that there is an event and a deadline, people are more likely to respond. So there's another marketer named Jeff Walker who created something called the product launch formula. And basically what this is Jeff created a system based on the proven principles of effective direct response for launching products online. And the whole premise of it is create a big to-do, create a big event around launching a product. And it allows you to accelerate communication leading up to the event and following the event. It allows you to come out with more messages. It allows everything to feel more timely. It allows you to establish deadlines. It creates a big hubbub around what it is that you're doing. And this has proven to be a highly effective way to create big influxes of sales for commercial direct marketers, to follow some variation of the launch model to build communication campaigns around and to make a bunch of sales in a short period of time. So, as a nonprofit fundraiser, how can I apply this? Well, whenever you want to put out a campaign, think about what you want to do. Think about when you want to do it by. Think about how you can make it a big deal to your donor base, how you can make it a big deal to your email list, and actually just create a campaign around it instead of just sending out an appeal letter. So let's say, I know that the end of the year is a reliable time for me to start asking for a bunch of appeals. Let's say that I want a summer spike in donations to support my mission. I want a reason to reach out in the middle of the summer. I could have a Christmas in July appeal where our organization is looking to do a very specific part of our mission in July where we need funds, or we need funds for August, we need funds for whatever, and create a Christmas in July launch of an appeal where I'm able to send out a series of much more proactive, much more frequent, and much more engaging asks around, okay, we're doing this campaign. So let's say there's the local food bank, and they do backpacks at the beginning of the school year, or they do backpacks throughout the school year for kids with food insecurity, and they need resources at the beginning of every school year, as well as throughout the school year, to be able to send these backpacks home on a regular basis to the kids who need them. And they could do a Christmas in July campaign where our organization needs these funds, and so we're going to do this big thing leading up to July 25th that is going to allow us, before the school year starts, to go out and buy these backpacks for all these kids that we're able to serve and fill them with food and send them home on a weekly basis for the kids who have food insecurity over the weekends. And you can build a giant launch around that has a series of asks going throughout July that is a reason why you're communicating more right now, and that reason why then goes away. And throughout the campaign, you can say, okay, so we've set this goal, and this is how much we need, and okay, we're so close to the goal. Can you help us get over with just a small donation? Okay, we passed the goal, but if we increase the goal to this much, this is how many more kids we can serve, or whatever. So you find reasons around a campaign to have this additional communication that goes out, and it creates these influxes of support. And just find whatever is relevant to your mission, to your organization, and if necessary, look out into culture. You can look out into holidays for a reason to communicate around it. If there's relevant holidays to your mission and to your donor base,
like troop support, Veterans Day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so any really it's any excuse. So you deal with retailers who are putting out 3-day sales every weekend, and when you're suddenly in the market for a new dishwasher, you're excited because there's a 3-day sale, or you're kind of in the market for a dishwasher and they have a 4th of July blowout, and so you go shopping for a dishwasher on the 4th of July.
That's right.
Retailers, commercial marketers will come up with any reason under the sun to run a sale, and all that I'm asking is that you make it relevant to your mission, and then you can do this, depending on the size of your mission, depending on what all you do, depending on how frequently you communicate with donors. This could be a couple times a year. If your fundraising organization is big, if you have different segments of your donor file that are interested in different parts of your mission, you could have these running on a monthly basis, but maybe rotating between segments of the donor file. The idea is to experiment and really just make it a big deal, like create a campaign around some event where you need additional support for the mission, and you're reaching out to them with, and putting a goal in place is a great thing, so they can feel like they're contributing towards that goal. Or having some kind of finish line that helps you do this is just going to continue to make it more compelling. So that was my recommendation.
Yeah, I like your 9 recommendations. Now, if somebody wanted to contact you, can you give your website again?
Yeah. So if you are just curious about reaching out to me and regarding fundraising, if you go to fundraisingfunnels.com, it tells just a little bit more of my backstory. You've actually gotten more probably here in this interview than you'll get by going to fundraisingfunnels.com, because it is admittedly an underdeveloped part of where I see myself providing value in the world over the next few decades. But if you want to connect with me, fundraisingfunnels.com, tell me that you heard about me on this show, and we can figure out if there is some kind of connection that we can make where I can help your mission. Now, we talked about this with the talent gap, that I have an incredible amount of demand for my time for companies that pay me 5-figure fees to develop a campaign, and then starting with the first dollar of sales, they pay me a percentage of sales for the results that I generate, and so I do have a lot of demand for my time. However, I do have certainly a soft spot in my heart for really entrepreneurial, forward-thinking nonprofits who are doing good work in the world, making the world a better place. But really, I would love to connect if you are innovative, and I say entrepreneurial just kind of as an example of the mindset where you're willing to write your own rules based on what can create the biggest positive impact.
That sounds good. I tell you what, I would go there, and of course I'd go on your for the copywriters. They'd be wise to go on your other website too.
Yeah, so that's at breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com, and again, that's daily essays on what works primarily in commercial direct response. But again, principles and strategies really are universal. It's only when you get into techniques and tactical implementation that things start to diverge a little bit between markets. But the principles and strategies that I write about there will apply just as much to. Well,
I learned a lot today here. I'm trying to apply a lot of this, so I appreciate your time. Just a lot of great ideas. Awesome. 9 recommendations that I think nonprofits would be wise to embrace if they haven't already.
All right.
Great recommendations.